Okay. Hi, Lisa. How's it going?
Great. How are you doing, Doug?
I'm doing good. So we're making a documentary, tentatively titled "Ending Homelessness." Recently, there were some developments with the local governments, Whatcom County, and they described our model as barely qualifying to be a shelter. And not to do any future tiny home villages. So I just wanted to get some questions and ask an interview and see what you think. So my first question is, what was your situation like before arriving at Unity Village?
Okay, we'll just start back. I worked for 30 years, and then I got severe PTSD and got permanent Social Security disability, so I'm unable to work. Looking for housing here. And I had some temporary housing that fell through, and I never felt safe there, and so I ended up taking my car and leaving. I went down to try and check into base camp. That wasn't comfortable for me because I have severe PTSD. I walked in the door, started shaking already. I tried to go in there, and none of that worked, so I decided that it was much safer for me, even though it's not really safe, to stay in my car at night on the street. And so I had an incident during that time where two guys tried to break into my car and were obviously looking to do some bad stuff, but thankfully I got away from that by pushing my panic button. I was ready to call 911. So it didn't feel very safe out there. It was constant, 24-hour, not good sleep, not anything, which isn't good for someone with PTSD. So you're doing that, and then I found out about HomesNOW, and I made my application and got in here. And I have to say, this is the safest I have felt in the last 7-8 years, because even though I was staying with friends, I never had like a place that was my own. Now I have a little room that I call it's my little house, and I feel safe finally, and like I can really get on with future planning and so forth. Because I tried a lot of options before that. I tried the Opportunity Council. They told me it could be 2 years till I got a place. I said, I stay in my car for 2 years and I might get a place. And I got on the list anyway, and then I also tried to apply because I'm on permanent Social Security disability. I can get Section 8 or assistance in housing, and I tried to go for that, and the wait lists weren't even open. So there's just like an impossible situation, and I got here and finally felt like, oh my gosh, I can finally plan, I can relax, I don't have to be 24 hours worried about what's going to happen. Also, it's very expensive to live in your car because you can't prepare food. So you have to buy ready, made food, and you're limited with that when you have a food card. You can't get hot food, so it's very limiting as to what you can do. And so, like I said, before I got here, there's people here that support you. You have questions, they're answered straightforwardly. You don't get I'll tell you in 2 years answer. So it's like I feel like finally, okay, now I can get back on my feet after going through all that trauma for the past 10 years. And I worked at mostly governmental entities. I worked up at Western Washington University for 10 years. I mean, I have a history degree and a law degree. I had my own law office. It's not like I love working. It's just that I can't work anymore. And so what are the options? Even after working all that time, your Social Security disability check is so small, there's no way you can get a place to live. I looked for months and months trying to find some place, and it's like there's nothing that will work with that income. So being here is just a really great gift to me, so I can get myself organized and do the best with what I have in the future, whether that means buying a van or actually finding a place. Now that COVID's lifting, maybe there'll be more places available. It's been another difficulty, renting a room in a house or something you can't do. So this is a lifesaver for me. Otherwise, I'd still be on the street out there dodging trouble. Basically, is what you're doing 24/7.
Yeah. What is daily life like at the village?
It's great. It accommodates to what you need, so you are able to have your space, but then you get up and you can have community meals. You can interact with people in a friendly manner. You have chores to do. That I like doing some chores. You do some chores, so we all pitch in and do our chores, and then we're taking care of everything. So we don't have to hire people to come and do any of that. We do it all ourselves. We've got people here who are very talented. They can work on whatever. It's the truck or the motors or the propane or whatever. We got all that handled. It's like a community effort that's much more healthy. Like I said, I haven't felt this good in 10 years. Even staying with friends, you never really have your space, right? So I felt better and less stress, which is really good for me to have less stress. And yeah, that's about, I mean,
No.
did I answer that question?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Officially, tiny home villages are classified as an emergency shelter and not housing. Our villages have also been described by local governments, Whatcom County, as barely qualifying to be a shelter. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that's a complete perception that they have, or what they're calling it, because for me, like I said, I haven't felt this safe even having been in a house. I feel better having my own space here, like I do have a home. And so for me, this feels more like housing than some of the houses I've lived in. And shelters, no way, this is way above a shelter in terms of going in there and being able to progress, be comfortable, and do what you need to do, and stay healthy with your eating and everything else, and not be just worried all the time what's going on. So I would say that this qualifies as more than an emergency shelter. It's like housing in a sense, is how it feels to me. And I've been 10 years dealing with this issues. So
Well, I'm glad it's improving and getting better. How does a tiny home community compare to other emergency shelters in town, in your view?
well, I stayed at the Lighthouse mission about 3 years ago for a week, and then I had a lot of interaction there when I first got homeless, and I was in my car, and I would say that this is 10 times better. Like I didn't feel comfortable there. You never feel like you're getting attention. They're always saying no. You got all these crowds. People are fighting. There's drug use. There's all kinds of stuff going on that it was never comfortable for me. It was just a last resort. I was about ready to get in a tent and go in the woods or something.
A lot of people do.
It's not comfortable. It's really not. And this is where you get your own space and you have what's necessary. And then if you ask, you say, hey, could we get a dryer? People listen and they try and accommodate what people need and just kind of working together as a group.
Yeah, which is great. I love that. Do you think more of these villages are needed?
Absolutely. I think that more of these villages are needed, and I think places like Los Angeles are realizing that. They just opened their first huge tiny house village. I think this is a much healthier place to put people, let them work through what they need to work through, and then move on. As opposed, you come out of a shelter, you're traumatized. I mean, I came out of that shelter after a week, and I was just like, whoa, you're just completely. It's not a safe, good environment to move on.
Survival mode, yeah. If there was one thing that you wanted to say to the overall community as somebody who's experienced homelessness, what would that be?
I would say is that, don't forget your empathy and compassion for your fellow citizens and residents here, that you could end up in the same position. You never know that if you just have some understanding and talk to people, nobody's asking you for anything. It's just like, have the compassion to understand where these people are coming from, and if you don't wish to contribute or help, at least don't interfere or judge people that you don't know where they've been. Like I would say that I'm in this place, and we got the beeping buttons. I'm in this place. Just to say how someone could end up here. I'm a national champion athlete. I have a law degree with distinction. I had my own law office. I worked my whole career almost for governmental entities in the state of California. 10 years up at Western Washington University. I worked down in the city of Sacramento, county of Sacramento, so I've always had that in my family as too, civil service. And you think you're getting your pension at the end and everything else, and sometimes it doesn't work out like that. You have an issue come up like PTSD or mental health issues, and it's like, be a little understanding of that. That's what I would say, is that anyone can end up, here. You don't know.
Yeah. So I think that's good. So thank you, Lisa. Yeah, if there's anything else.
Well, thank you for all you do. That's what I was saying.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Just have a little understanding, people. That's all.
Yeah.
Just a little understanding and try to understand.
Yeah, I totally agree.